Welcome back to Twist of Fate, a small business podcast where you can find your inspiration to make your dreams come true. Today, we're dedicating this episode to everyone that's willing to keep a positive outlook. Despite the challenges in life, despite all the negativity, just staying positive and optimistic, which is necessary for any entrepreneur. I could not think of a better guest that embodies this true grit and when life brings challenges to stay positive and optimistic. There's my friend here, a veteran, professional athlete, a technologist, and a great father and a dedicated guy. Johnathan Flowers, welcome to Twist of Fate.
Well, thanks for having me, Doug. Appreciate it, man.
I think you and I share some commonality of where our lives started. So you're originally from the East Coast, correct?
Yeah, I'm originally from the East Coast, grew up in Maryland, which is, for some people that don't know that area, it is the South. It's officially where the South actually started.
It's good eating out there, John.
Very good eating. Good seafood, because they have the Chesapeake Bay there. No disrespect to the Bay Area, but there's way better seafood on the East Coast in my mind than there is out
I will not dispute that either. Although you've had my seafood boil.
Yes, I have. And you know what? For everybody who's listening, Doug can get down when it comes to seafood.
Again, this is twice you guys have heard that. I didn't pay them to say it. You need to come eat with us.
He can get down with the seafood. I give him that.
So then you've went to college, though, out here in the Bay. You're a San Jose State grad, right?
Yep, yes I am. I went in the military first, and then I came out here, and I actually went to junior college first, and then transferred to San Jose State.
Gotcha.
I wanted to get my GE out of the way on the GI Bill and not use the money too haphazardly, because there's only so much you get to use. And then I transferred to San Jose State, and I got my degree in fine arts and graphic design. And a lot of people don't know.
It was a mature move on your part. That's great.
And a lot of people don't know. San Jose State has a world or internationally renowned design program. I mean, some great artistic people come out of there. If your kid's thinking of going into digital marketing, design, creative, fine arts, commercial art, graphic design, it's a great place.
What was your thing in design? Because I know you're a cartoonist. You're a pretty talented guy. You paint. What is in design? What do you like to do?
Honestly, it was always just something to me. It was kind of a way just to get out of reality. You and I grew up around the way, and there was things that we just didn't like seeing. Yeah. So I wanted to get out of use that vehicle to kind of do things to get away from like reading science fiction and fantasy books, and at the same time draw and paint those things. Mm-hmm. My idols, believe it or not, was Charles Schulz when he was growing up, and some of the guys like Dennis Cowan who were out there, and those kind of artists, and then Boris Vallejo who used to do those calendars and the mythology fish. I loved all that stuff, so I got into that kind of stuff because of those things.
Do you still draw and paint? And
I try to, and I need to be more positive. Speaking of this podcast, I need to be more positive about the idea. You make time for that stuff, and obviously people know this COVID hit, and that derailed a lot of that stuff. It was more like your mental health was kind of going in a different direction, and it was work and finances. But
passions like that
should
bring you through hard times.
That's what you have to leverage on. Fall back on the things that make you feel better, physiologically make you feel better, not just mentally and emotionally, but just your body feel better.
That's great. And then you had mentioned you're a veteran, which, to my listeners know that veterans are special to us. So where did you serve, and, where did you travel? I mean...
So I served a tour, and I was in Grenada, I was in Panama. I've had a couple operational tours in Central Africa, and I've been in both Iraq and Iran. So,
In conflicts?
In conflicts. I am a combat veteran, yes.
So this is great. I mean, I think you successfully transitioned out of your service into school and tech and life, and then you became a professional athlete.
Yes. So that transition, and this is something a lot of veterans struggle with, because the military life, good, bad, or indifferent, there's structure. Even if you don't really like that structure, or that structure may not bring out the best in you, there is a structure, and you leave that and go into civilian life where that structure is not there. It can be very frustrating, that change. And also, some of the stuff you do in the military doesn't translate to civilian life. You don't put that on your resume, Yes, I can jump out of a plane at night and go into the dark and stuff. That doesn't translate to on your resume, especially in the tech industry. So for me, it was just
a good life experience. I mean, the hard work, the dedication.
You learn the hard work, learn how to deal with people that you normally wouldn't learn to deal with, because there's a common goal.
Yeah.
I mean, to talk about the elephant in the room, There were people in my unit that had never been around someone of color, like ever in their life. And then suddenly you're in this situation. And there were, we butted heads and there was conflicts and little things like that. But
no, but you guys depend on each other for your lives, right?
Exactly. Like you get into a bar for a fight or a little altercation, that same guy that wouldn't have talked to you normally was right at your side.
Are you still in touch with any of those guys?
Yeah, a couple of them. We still talk and some of the stuff, we battle and debate on political stuff sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's like these are guys that we saved each other's lives. And you realize between the military and sports that a lot of the racism stuff is BS. It's
people are people, right?
Yeah, people are people, and it's a taught, learned thing. And if people could understand that, yeah, you have cultural biases and perceived biases, we all do, but the things that affect us racially are things that are built into systems. So you can be prejudiced and bigoted and overcome that and have conversations and then learn and work there. But the racial stuff is like you have to be in a position where you can make change.
Sure. And you have.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like athletics it's the pinnacle perfection of what humans can do. You're making decisions split second, left, right.
Yeah.
Military's similar,
Same way.
right? So for yourself, like when you went from college sports to pro sports, that was a big gear shift, right? Like
Absolutely.
Because you were mentioning the pads are bigger, but like the men are bigger, the stakes are higher. Like, what was that like for you?
People don't realize like there's a level of stress and pressure there because everybody's bigger, stronger, faster. And you keep in mind, like,
did you really feel somebody's bigger than you? Because you guys can't see, but this is a big man. Like, you're a big guy. Like, did you feel that? Like, intimidation?
Yes, I did. I'm about 6'4", and I was about 230. But there were guys that were 6'6", 6'7", just swole and big and fast. And everybody,
fast, right?
Everybody at that level is fast, which you may consider. There's people that are faster, but everybody's fast. So yeah, it was definitely an eye opener. And I remember after my first practice, I remember calling my father and going, Dad, I don't know if I could play at this level because I didn't realize how good everybody was.
This was the Jets tryouts.
This was the Jets tryouts.
That's how you felt then.
That's how I felt then. And during those tryouts, we came back for like a second session, and I was just frustrated with my equipment. Like it was really bothering. I remember John Wooten's book about making sure your shoes are tight and everything's right. So I went, can I get a better helmet? Can I get a different shoulder pads? I come out and I saw a coach walk out with a clipboard because they didn't have iPads back then, and talked to the coach and pointed a bunch of us and goes, "Okay, guys, lines 1 through 3, we are done with this session. We're only taking a couple of you to camp. We're going to take lines 4 and 6. I just happened to be in line 6. Like they didn't pick us by name. They just picked a certain amount of us to bring to camp.
Interesting.
So I basically made the first cut out of luck by going and getting equipment. So I get into camp. They cut us in about 6 or 7 of us in about 2 weeks. You're thinking, all right, it's over. I take my chance. I did my thing. Been working at this since I was 6 years old. Served my country. I'm good. I'm going to go out and do my life. I get home. I fly out to California where my dad and my mom were living at the time. And we're on the plane.
LA?
Actually, they were living in Sunnyvale.
Okay, Sunnyvale.
So I flew back there, but we went to LA first and then went to Sunnyvale because some of the guys lived out there. So they paid, the Jets paid for the plane ticket and stuff. So we're drinking on the plane. I'm not saying it's a good thing, guys, but we're drinking on the plane. And then we get off the plane, I'm just hammered, get to my house. My mom goes, hey, there's some letters on the table for you because we don't have internet at that time. And they were waiver letters, like so the team let you know you've been cut and you're available to other teams. There was one from the Chargers, one from the Seahawks, one from the Raiders at the time. My brother was playing for the Seahawks at the time, and the assistant defensive back coach, Rich Gay, went down to LA. So he said, dude, he gave me a call. He goes, hey man, come down here. I think I can get you on the practice squad. Get down here, and I go, hey, I got a flight already booked for you. And I said, okay, cool. When is it leaving? This is a Thursday night, like 9 o'clock. He goes, when is it leaving? He goes, oh yeah, it's booked it's a red eye. It's booked at 12:30. I go, it's at night, and I'm still drunk at this time. We're still drinking, and I get on the plane, get off the plane. He picks me up in the morning. The open tryouts are probably like around 9 o'clock that morning. We have an open session in the morning, get ready and treatment stuff. So I get there about 8:30. I'm not feeling life. And I basically go through, long story short, go through the session. I throw up afterwards. Got some cookie food down that day. He calls me and said, yeah, dude, we got you. And that's how I got on the squad.
Interesting. But so then how do you go from them to the Raiders then? How did that happen?
So once I got that with Rich, Rich got me there. I got on their practice squad. They'd already seen me at the camp, had a good time, and they just were impressed with me. And they left me on the practice squad for 2 seasons. And I said, all right, this is going to be my year. And I got there. We were scrimmage against the Cowboys. And honestly, I think I made the squad partially because of Michael Irvin.
Wow.
Michael, with everything you've ever read or heard about Michael being a trash talker or running his mouth, coming from the U and everything, which I love, by the way, for all you Miami University fans, is nothing compared to how he is in person. He was laying into us rookies, like, you can't cover me, I'm gonna catch the ball right here. Hey, I'm running a button over him, lower my shoulder. I mean, he just would not stop on us. It was so bad that Emmitt Smith came over to him and said, dude, leave them boys alone. And I took it offensively. Like, I went, like, dude, you don't need to protect me. I'm a grown man, I'm older than you. And I was kind of pissed. And I started like maneuvering.
And you're ex-military too.
Yeah,
so
and I was just like, I was getting kind of pissed, got heated, but I'm a competitive person. So I started rotating in the drills to make sure I got up against Mike all the time. And at the end of practice, apparently he went to the defensive back coach and said, hey, you need to keep that kid because he was the only one out here fighting.
You, at that point in your life, already had accomplished great things. You traveled the world, family guy. How did becoming a professional NFL player change your outlook on life?
What it made me realize, like what I did look at the military when I was young, kind of stupid, but what that made me realize is that you're in a position where you can get cut or injured in any second. So it made me a little more present. Like, it made me realize, like, you know, you better enjoy this ride, enjoy the journey, and not keep looking to where it was. Because I had no delusions about being like a Hall of Famer or anything. I wasn't thinking like that. I was just thinking I just want to play and enjoy my moment and know I made it and feel like a lot of my family has. If you Google Flowers in the NFL, most of them are my relatives. So I just wanted to be a part of that journey, but I wanted to leverage it after football for business.
Okay, now we're talking. So I really I'm breaking the fourth wall, talking to my listeners here. Johnathan just brought up a very important point that I think is a parallel for entrepreneurism. Stay in the moment, right? Mm-hmm. Stay in the moment.
Yep.
And also enjoy the moment. It may be hard, it may be a struggle, but like you're kind of writing a new history when you start something new, and I think it's a great translation to business. Now you're a business guy.
Yeah.
So that's what these guys don't know, that like, okay, so college grad, veteran, pro athlete, entrepreneur.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. So you've worked in agencies, startups, you started things. Did you know that you were going to go into business after your NFL career?
Originally, like, I think the thing I wanted to do after the NFL career was kind of like, I wanted to do anything that leveraged the sports and my creativity and try to find some way to make money with it. And there was a lot of ways that could have happened. At one point, I had my own comic book company, and I ran a series of conventions and stuff. I opened a creative services company, used my artwork so I could do design work. I mean, watching technology change.
I mean, they don't know, but you kind of have like an inner geek inside of you.
Oh, I'm a total inner geek. Like, I am the guy that goes to Comic Cons. I love Marvel and DC movies. I read comic books. I love the whole toys and collectibles things. I'm an old school geek too. Like,
do you cosplay too?
Nah, I don't cosplay. My sister, my daughter does, and a couple of my friends do, but I don't. You know, I've done it once where I was Blade. I did it once.
I was just going to ask you, what would be, okay, there you go.
I was Blade because I felt like that one was cool enough, because I didn't know, I mean, honestly, also, just to be real, cosplaying is expensive. People that do it well, that's a lot of money for a one-time thing. You have to really be invested in it. And some of those people, like, they're very famous, and I admire and respect their creativity, but I just wanted something that was a little more easy to execute on.
Gotcha. So you took a lot of your art skills, your life skills, and you wanted to go into leverage it in business.
Yes.
Now, you came back to Bay Area, and you were in the Silicon Valley era. You know, like you and your peer group. I mean, you were there when it was hot, right?
Yep, we were there in that .com hit where money was just raining out of the sky. I worked at a company had three companies that came together to make a company called Red Cipher. Met some of my mutual friends there and stuff like that. And at that time, like back when the old Netscape browser was around, like that was like the great-great-great-grandfather what Google is now.
That's when they had like college students type in search results, right? And
Exactly.
there was no algorithm or anything?
No, there wasn't. It was all just data stored stuff. Like someone searched for it, here it is.
Yeah.
So it's indexed more so than an algorithm. And when we were back in that day, if you searched for a database-driven site, database supported web site, database supported back-end servicing, we were the only hit that was coming up. Mm-hmm. So money was just raining from the sky at that time. Obviously the crash happened, and we all kind of went our separate ways. And from there I bought out, who's now my ex-wife, her father had a printing company. So I bought that out. and hired a bunch of people, and we turned it into a creative services agency.
Like, you mean like flyers or like print material, assets?
Print material, like actual like calendars, flyers, banners.
So the art side of you is still at work.
Still at there. So I bought the business and then added the digital side of it, the creative design part of it, put in new equipment, and then that was when Flash was at its infancy. So we were on that rise when like the web industry was already there, but the design front end and the digital part was coming. So I saw the writing on the wall. I started becoming more of a digital marketer. Like I looked at the technology that was coming.
So that's really, you were ahead of the curve too, because the social media companies, all that, they hadn't hit their stride yet. I mean, they were around, but you know, that was an interesting time.
Yeah, there was really like those things. Like people don't realize it was before Facebook. It was for all that stuff like that. Like the only thing around was like Yahoo, you know, and even then that wasn't like the most amazing user experience, to be honest.
And the Bay was a different place then too. It wasn't all crowded, right? Like it was like Mountain View wasn't all bought up by Google, right? It was an interesting time period.
Oh yeah, you could drive around here and it wouldn't take you 2 hours to get someplace. It was awesome.
What motivates or inspired you?
Honestly, it was my father. I mean, I don't know how other people feel, but I feel I was very, very fortunate. I'm one of those people on this planet, I have nothing negative to say about my dad. Like I couldn't even say I wish my dad did more of this, or he was
he an athlete?
He was an athlete. Played for he was a tight end for the Redskins, and he actually was a computer analyst that worked with IBM, one of the few black executives there. And you know the zip +4 that you see on our zip codes, the +4, that programming he helped develop that.
Wow.
So he was always like I don't remember ever going hungry. I don't remember us never having a house. I mean I know we struggled, but I don't remember that ever affecting me and our well-being. We came first, and Dad was always. I don't care how selfish your goals are or what you're trying to achieve for yourself or how much you want to pat yourself in the back. If you put the family, the team, the unit, the group in your neighborhood first, whatever you're trying to achieve, you got a better chance of achieving it, even if it's just purely selfish. So that was always my inspiration. And then where I got changed, I think for me was when I lost football, there was a weird, I cracked my leg and I knew football was over. I kind of tried a little bit to get back with arena ball in the NFL Europe, but I wasn't quite the same. But what I realized after that was, okay, what am I gonna do now? And there was a period, like no joke, I was learning to re-walk on this leg and get myself back together. And during that time, I had to figure some things out. And I don't know what it was, but I was watching TV one time, and it was an old episode of Bewitched. And yeah, it's with Elizabeth Montgomery, and I think it was Dick York that played Darren. Well, Darren was in advertising, and he was always pitching ideas. I said, this is cool. And he was from that Mad Men era. So this is before Mad Men existed and all that kind of stuff. I said, I like that job. So I thought about advertising, and so I started that. That was the link that made me go, okay, here's my creativity, here's my business.
That's amazing. So that's your twist of fate.
That was my twist
from Bewitched.
From Bewitched.
It made you look at a career in communicating, advertising.
Yeah, and I remember asking my dad, hey, Dad, you know, are there any like, you know, black advertisers that we know of? And my dad got me a book and said, hey, check this out, because there wasn't an internet there, which God, you young kids, you're so lucky. I found out who Floyd Norman was. He was the first black animator at Disney. And so I was, okay, there are us in this area. So then I started researching and finding other people and I was like, okay, it's on now. Now I know what I want to do. And that's when I started pursuing. That's when I started pursuing my art career, using my degree, and all kind of stuff.
Well, let me tell you this. I am expecting great things from your kids, because you guys got great genetics. I mean, you guys are knocking people out on the football field and knocking them out in the corporate office and in tech. I just think I'm looking for great things. So thanks for sharing your twist of fate. And then, okay, so then now you are actually in a pretty awesome startup that is, what I view is helping the wealth disparity and helping people manage money, right? So maybe you want to tell our listeners a little bit about EarnUp.
Yeah, so I'm the head of marketing at EarnUp, and EarnUp is theoretically still, actually, it's a startup still. We just closed our Series C, and
congrats
on that. Yeah,
this is getting closer to going public then, right? That's exciting.
We're not sure. I'm not sure where the founders want to go with this yet. Maybe they want to go IPO, maybe want to get acquired. We're not sure where that's going to go. We're kind of like living in the moment, as they say. But our founders,
I think that's smart, by the way.
Yes,
to take good judgment. Like you want to, don't just do it. So don't just IPO for the prestige, right? Like it's better to do what's in the best interest of the firm.
Absolutely. So I mean, the company started by I think it was 2015. And it was two founders, Nadeem and Matthew, and they had gone through this with their families and their own selves of how hard it was to.
They were immigrants, correct?
Yes. They found out how hard it was to get mortgages and manage that whole situation and become homeowners. And
I think that's something that's misunderstood.
Yes.
It's tough for anybody to become a homeowner.
Exactly.
But when you come from another country, you're starting from scratch. No multi-generational
Exactly.
wealth, right? Like you don't. I admire people that start from scratch like that.
You listen to their stories, and there's plenty of videos on YouTube. You can go check it out, and it's definitely one of the reasons why I came to the company. But they realized that the mortgage system was broken. That ecosystem didn't work well for everybody, and they really took a passion of trying to make it work for them. I mean, our company is a double bottom line business. But we focus more on the borrower, like that person logging onto our platform, helping them pay when they can, manage their money, avoiding insufficient fund fees. And on top of all that, we gather data from that to help with mitigating that.
So for some of my listeners, we've done episodes about homeownership and entrepreneurism and the challenges there. So just so they can understand, this is a SaaS platform that they can log in an account, and it will help them manage their inbound cash to pay off things to improve their credit score? Is that the end goal?
Well, it's not really to improve this credit score, but it's more to help manage their mortgage loan and their loans for their finances.
Gotcha.
We don't want them to go in default. We don't want them to have insufficient fund fees. And then on the enterprise side, like the originators, which we know as the lender, what we're helping them do, like once post close, they have no visibility what that borrower is doing, or what we call the end user, which is a borrower, or people like you and I. They have no idea, but we gather data from them, whether it's employment data, lending data, their financial data, so that we can give them back so they know, help them with refinancing, know when it's best, what the valuation of that loan is, so the originator can actually help make money. The borrower gets better thing, and that helps everybody.
Yeah, 100%. And then so that's useful for lenders and borrowers.
Yep.
And of your borrowers, what's like the type of consumers that benefit from it? Like, for example, you and I, we're members of the African American community. So I can tell you, like, managing money, like we got to be laser focused. Like you say, stay in the moment. Like if you get that house, like you better hold it. You
better make sure. Well, see, like it helps everybody, but more importantly, people in disenfranchised communities, people of color, people that are poor, people that don't have a lot of financial education and background or accessibility to that knowledge. This is what this is just one tool in all the many of them out there that can give them a helping hand and leg up. It also helps them they can go from different servicers, and like we're not actually a servicer ourselves, but we do support them with some inter-servicing support that helps them with borrower communication, so they know what's going on the platform, and at the same time helping them with compliance issues through RESPA.
So breaking the fourth wall again, talking to my listeners. Okay, my father was a financial planner. Please know I had advantages that I understood how to handle revenue, cost, and tax because of me knowing him. But you may not have that advantage.
Exactly.
So you need to definitely explore EarnUp. My view is I want you all to succeed, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're doing it in life, but you can't do it alone, right? I talk about this all the time. So definitely check them out.
Yeah, and even more importantly, like if there's originators and lenders and loan companies out there, there's a bunch of them, they mainly focus on the mechanics of the industry, not all of them, because there's companies like Quicken Loan and Rocket Mortgage that are very focused on the borrower journey and very focused on that thing, and they do a very good job of it. But the most part, that's not done as well, which affects their brand. It affects how they're treated. So what we'd want them to do is, if you're a lender out there, I'll make a name like Lender X, come check our platform out, because with our enterprise solutions, our digital payment experience, we can make your borrowers get them on board, increase the attachment and retention rate for you, and give you data that you can utilize to help with your business.
Awesome. So, and I think if you want to maintain a positive outlook in life, definitely having good financial health.
Absolutely.
It's a part of the equation, right? Like it's part of the equation. So I want to ask you, you've had quite a journey.
Yeah.
And I know, you've had some hard times in your life as well.
Yes.
Health-wise, life-wise, dealing with mortality. Is it your military training, your successes as an entrepreneur? Is it your successes in the NFL? Like, what brings you through some of these things? Like, how do you keep going and have that love for life that I see out of you?
It's a combination of things, but primarily it's mom and dad and grandma. Like those three people, and I always quote them all the time. Like if I was going to write a book, I'd write a book called it would be something like what my mom and dad and grandma used to say. But it's just how you were raised, because I've had two major I would say blips in my life where it was bad. Like the 2008, 2009 era, the crash happened with
that's
mortgage.
subprime. You're talking about subprime.
Yeah, it was bad. So during that time, my daughter's mom and I split up. We moved out of the house. I got laid off during that time. My dad passed away, and I was diagnosed with throat cancer.
Wait, all in 2008?
2008, 2009. That all happened at the same time. And from that, I've been like, okay, it changed how I was. And it doesn't mean I'm not as sensitive to other people, but there's someone being upset at you down here is not the same thing as what I've been through up here. And I get it. And then fast forward, as personally, a year ago, I lost my son.
Yeah,
so
I know.
That's just, it's like when you put those things and compact them together, and I've recently lost my sister, I'm like, I get what people feel and I get how they go through things, but you have to make sure that you are looking at that journey you went through your life and where you came from. You can't let that destroy yourself too. Everybody needs help. Everybody sometimes has to bend their knee, whether it's to your religion, whether it's God or Allah or whatever you feel like you need to get guidance, whether it's to friends and family, or the just things or a combination of that. But at the end of the day, you're the one who's got to get up. You're the one who's got to get ready for the day, and you're the one who's got to. But to me, that was taught from my dad. It was you get up, you make your bed, you get ready for your day. And my grandma always said, act like people that mad at you are looking at you. Like, how would you want your daughter or your kids seeing you? How would you want a woman that you're trying to marry, the woman, your partner of your dreams? How would you want a future boss seeing you? Act like they're watching you. Now, are you perfect at it? Of course not, but I do consider it every day.
Such an inspirational response, and I really appreciate you sharing the hardships that come with life. And I've experienced some of these hardships, and I definitely can talk about like my father's legacy and what that impacted me. So I agree, family values and kind of where you've been can be your center of gravity.
Yes,
these bad
absolutely.
things happen. So I really appreciate that. Going forward, for some of my listeners that are struggling with mental health or positive outlook, is there any activities, like I know art or drawing, you mentioned like painting these things, or is there things that you did that helped you get through some of those hard times?
Yeah, I think there's three things you need to look at is do something active. I'm not saying you have to go to the weight room and go to take boot camp and go training but go do something active. I walk 2 miles in the morning every morning. I don't care. I just do. You get yourself active. Second thing is start looking at how you eat. I mean, God, I cannot emphasize that as much. We all want to have a drink now and then, go eat food and eat hot dogs and stuff, but like that stuff breaks you down. It doesn't give you the fuel mentally, emotionally, and physically that you need. It just doesn't. So watch what you eat. It's 80, like they would say, 80% diet. It is. And then third, find something to do every day to make you laugh and be creative. Like really think about that. Like for me, it's art and drawing, and like I like reading science fiction and fantasy books. I like watching that kind of stuff because it gets you away from reality and it kind of brings you give you some sense of peace. But I try to avoid watching politics on the news all the time. I try to avoid bad news. There's flooding in Dallas, but I don't want to watch that 24/7 all day long. You have to balance that out and give yourself a positive. You have to give yourself the tools to do that.
I have a lot of entrepreneurs out there as well, and you have a lot of success historically with startups. Is there any things to keep a positive outlook that you would say to the entrepreneurial community? Because starting a business, we were talking before this episode, right? It can be volatile,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Is there any things that you feel that helps entrepreneurs or what you view as a successful entrepreneur succeed?
So, I mean, and it kind of goes back to the mental thing. It's like, it's not going to be perfect. I mean, we all have these beautiful visions that we're going to be this big company and have employees and be on yacht. Yeah, that's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but there's also a reality check. And you know that because you have to pay bills. You got to visit. So I'm always saying you got to be present and plan. So I mean, that sounds really weird to do. You be present when you do it, but you have a plan you're striving for. You can't be in a meeting and be stressed about something that's going to happen a quarter from now. You just can't do that. You have to be present but plan. And I think if you present, plan, and know what the goals are, it'll help alleviate some of that stuff and give you some guidance and allow you to course correct when things go wrong. You can kind of see it. One of the things I struggle with when working with other people is people put a deadline on something. Let's make this phone yellow and we have to have it done by Friday. Okay, why? Why does it have to be done by Friday? And what is the goal? And Are you sacrificing quality for speed? Or are you doing something really worthwhile? Because people want to feel like they've been valued, something was done well, and is it something that can be leveraged to move forward? You and I talk about scalability. I have people that come up with ideas I think are amazing, but dude, it's gonna take too long to build, or it's cost too much, or you can't mass produce this, or like if you can, this is what it's gonna, let's figure out how to do it. But you gotta plan that, because that's just gonna set you up for failure. So I would just say, be present when you're working and plan.
I think this is a great segue to my reflections on this discussion and in general. As an entrepreneur, looking at my community there, I mean, there's no doubt skills pay the bills, right? Yes. Like having hard skills, having abilities is gonna pay the bills. But having a positive outlook is probably even more important because it will help you pass the test of time.
Yes.
So what I've learned from you today is live every day of your life like it's your last one. Because there's nothing guaranteed. Right?
Exactly.
There's nothing guaranteed. You could lose people, you could subprime, you could lose jobs, but it's not over.
No, it's not.
And I think that is a strong lesson that I'm getting from you, and it's a lesson that I hope all of you take away. If you like this podcast, please share, like, subscribe. We want to bring this free content and continue bringing ideas and inspiration to all of you out there. Johnathan, you're a class act, and if anything, of all the talents you have, you're a great human being.
I appreciate that, man.
You're a great human being. So I really appreciate you sharing. I love working with you. I look forward to seeing great things from you in the future. We're not revealing any on that.
There's some things we're working on.
Exactly,
yes,
exactly. But I think what you're doing is outstanding. It's big. What you're doing as a veteran, you're giving inspiration to, I hope, a lot of you that have VA benefits, go start businesses, go live your life, take advantage of those things. I think you're giving inspiration to the college crowd that's out there, like those San Jose kids that are out there. Many work in my company. You're doing great things for them. I would say that on the startup world, I think what you guys are doing at EarnUp is fantastic. Yes. Because financial health, you're not going to have positive outlook without that. And just in general, I think you're a great leader in the African American community. I mean, I'm one of the young brothers that's coming up and coming, but it's great to look at some people that have achieved some success and know that it is possible. And I think that you may not even realize how many lives you're affecting just by doing what you're doing. So.
No, I appreciate that, Doug. And you bring up at one point, you talk about leadership, That's what I look for. And I said, if you guys are entrepreneurs and you're a veteran or you're a kid, develop those skills. Because one of the key things is understand if you're leaders, you're not in charge, you're accountable and responsible. And then two is, know what you don't know. Check your ego and be a good leader and stuff. I work at a company, EarnUp, it's one of the most diverse companies I've ever worked at in my life. It is. I didn't think it was possible for it to be diverse and still be a successful business. And our chief people officer, Michelle Scanlon, has done an amazing job. I've learned so much from her about how I would want a company to be. And our CEO, Nadeem, he walks the walk. I mean, it's very rare you meet a CEO like that where what he says, he means what he says, and he does it. And he says this phrase all the time, and it's really funny to me. He goes, remember guys, we're trying to make money so we can achieve the mission. We're trying to make money so we can support our values. And he says it all the time. So when you hear someone talk like that, it makes you check yourself a little bit.
It's a great team on all levels.
Exactly.
I mean, Nadeem is impressive. Randy and Mary, I love them, right? It's all levels. So you guys are doing really great things. And as a person, you're doing great as well. So appreciate you coming here. I look forward to seeing you all on the next Twist of Fate.
Twist of Fate is hosted by Doug Younger. It's produced by John Lundvid and Matthew Brown at Ezo Creative. Moni Yu designs our graphics, and Enrique Pimentel manages our digital life. Our theme music is by Jamie Bathgate. Special thanks to all of our patrons. You can support the show by visiting patreon.com/twistoffate podcast. Thanks for listening.